Hi, I'm artist and author Cher Pendarvis. In this video, we will explore glazing brushes. Traditional master artists, for instance, Vermeer, Rembrandt, Caravaggio, and many others, use glazing techniques to apply thin, transparent layers of paint to their paintings in areas where they wanted emphasis. In some cases, many transparent layers were applied over an opaque underpainting. I used a similar technique with glazing brushes in Painter 2017 to apply deeper color to the foreground of View from Point Loma as shown here. For a fine artist, the glazing brushes and their controls give you more control over stroke opacity. Let's have a look at the Stencil Texture Captured Filbert. Go to the brush selector and select the glazing brushes and select Stencil Texture Captured Filbert. I'm going to bring a empty file forward and we're going to make a few marks with it. Before we do that, we're going to click here on the icon, the glazing panel icon, and we're going to open the glazing panel. We're going to use the captured filbert to lay down a stroke, and we're going to lay another stroke over the top. As you see with the first stroke that we laid down, we have between 30 and 60% of the color that we have chosen. If we were to make a mark, I'm continuing to press the stylus the entire time, we get pretty much a solid color. However, we have a little bit of variation because of the captured brush dab. And if I lay over the top, you see we get between 30 and 60% of the color. So let's have a look at the glazing panel. At the very top, we have the merge mode, and default is chosen. If we click here, the pop-up menu, you see the different choices that we have. Here we have the glazing, which is actually the strength of the glazing that we're using. We have it set at 60% right now. If we were to lower it to say around 20%, you see we get much lighter color. And if we were to lower this all the way to 0, see we can get very light up to that 23%. If we have this set at just about the same here, you see we're only varying between that few percent with a single stroke. Below here, glazing jitter gives some variation to the opacity in the stroke, and the smoothness will smooth out the transitions between the jitter areas. And then we have expression is set to pressure. We click the pop-up menu here and we see the choices that we have. For this particular brush, the default merge mode is chosen. If I click on the pop-up menu, you'll see a lot of different familiar merge modes, and I encourage you to have fun experimenting with these to try out different mixes for your paintings. For this loose sketch of a Torrey pine, I used the Stencil Texture Captured Filbert at a small size for the brush sketch. For broader strokes, I used about 20 to 40 pixel as my brush size. As you can see, I used several layers for the sketch, painting the brush sketch, shading and foliage on different layers. To unify my piece, I applied a gradient, the Spring Glow tint, to a layer and adjusted its opacity. So I wanted to demonstrate a couple of strokes. I have this particular layer right here, where I'm adding darker shading, and I'll just add a little bit darker shading to the bottom of this branch right here. And I also wanted to demonstrate how nicely the captured filbert is for painting foliage. So I'm just going to increase the size right here up to more like the default size so it's easier to see, and I'm going to choose a warm green. And if you look, watch right here, you'll see the curved stroke, which reminds me a little bit of cluster of pine needles. I'm going to make this a little bit darker so it's easier to see. So you see the look of the pine needles that we have there, and this particular brush is also good for painting grasses and getting the feeling of grass foliage. For the background gradient, let me just open the gradients and I'll show you. Media library panels, and we'll go down to the gradients. And I use this one right here, the Spring Glow gradient. After I selected my gradient, I chose Edit, Fill, Fill with Gradient, and I adjusted the opacity that I wanted and clicked OK. I had the layer that I wanted targeted as well. So the gradient was a fun way to unify my sketch of the Torrey pine. In closing, artists and illustrators will find the new glazing brushes in Painter 2017 to be versatile and fun to use. Now I'd like to zoom in to the foreground of view from Point Loma to show you the detailed brushwork that I painted with the glazing brushes, including the captured bristle, speckle short reel bristle, among others. Enjoy the new glazing brushes and happy painting!